What would you do if someone told your child they had to earn the right to call them grandma? Not joking, not said in anger, said calmly, deliberately, in front of a room full of family. Because that's exactly what happened to my 9-year-old daughter. And the worst part, it didn't come from a stranger, it came from my mother-in-law. Let me take you into that moment. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. It was supposed to be a simple birthday party. Balloons, cake, family chatter blending into background noise, the kind of day you don't overthink. My daughter, Sophie, had just turned 9. She's the quiet type, the kind of kid who doesn't ask for much, but when she loves something, she really loves it. And that mattered, a lot, especially that day. Now here's something you need to understand before we go any further. My mother-in-law, Margaret, has always been particular, polished, controlled, the kind of person who doesn't raise her voice because she doesn't have to. People just adjust around her. And if you've ever dealt with someone like that, you already know the tension doesn't start when they speak. It starts way before. There had always been this subtle imbalance in the family. My niece Olivia, Margaret's other granddaughter, somehow always got a little more attention, a little more praise, a little more everything. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. But that day, it stopped being subtle. Because Sophie opened one gift, and everything shifted. She didn't scream. She didn't jump up and down. She just froze for a second, then smiled in this quiet, genuine way I hadn't seen in a long time. And she held onto that gift like it actually meant something. And that's when Margaret noticed. And then Olivia noticed. And then everything changed. Because what happened next didn't just ruin the party. It exposed something none of us could ignore anymore. And when Margaret finally spoke, I thought I knew exactly how my husband, Daniel, would react. I was wrong. It was supposed to be the happiest moment of the day, until Olivia asked one simple question. Can I see that? Harmless, right? That's what it sounded like. Just a curious cousin leaning in a little too close, eyes locked on Sophie's hands. But Sophie didn't let go. That was the first sign something was different. Let me explain. Sophie is polite, almost too polite. The kind of kid who shares her snacks, gives up her turn, says it's okay, even when it's not. So when she pulled the gift slightly closer to her chest instead of handing it over, I noticed. Did you catch that? That tiny moment when a kid chooses not to give something up, even when they're used to doing exactly that. That's where this really started. The gift wasn't flashy, no loud packaging, no big brand logo. It was a digital sketch tablet, something she'd been quietly asking about for months. Not demanding, just mentioning it here and there. Because Sophie loves drawing. It's her thing, her escape. And when she unwrapped it, it wasn't just a gift. It was understood. She traced the edge of it like she couldn't believe it was hers. Like if she let go, it might disappear. Olivia's voice came again, sharper this time. I want it. Not can I try it, not that's cool, just I want it. And here, where things got uncomfortable. Some of the adults chuckled. You know that awkward, dismissive laugh people use when they don't want to deal with what's actually happening? Yeah, that one. But Margaret didn't laugh. She was watching. Carefully. Calculating. Her eyes moved from the tablet to Sophie and then briefly to Olivia. And in that moment, I swear, it felt like a decision had already been made. Have you ever seen that look before? When someone decides what's fair without asking anyone involved. I felt it in my stomach before anything was even said. Daniel, he was across the room mid-conversation, completely missing it. And me, I hesitated. Just for a second. And that second was all it took. Because Margaret stood up, smoothed out her sleeve like she was about to handle something trivial, and called Sophie over. Her voice was calm, too calm. And when Sophie walked toward her, still holding that tablet tightly, Margaret smiled, then said something that didn't sound like a suggestion. It sounded like a decision that had already been made. At first, I thought I misheard her, until the room went completely silent. Margaret didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She simply pointed at the tablet in Sophie's hands and said, "Give it to your cousin." Just like that. No discussion, no softness, no please. Just a command delivered like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. And for a split second, nobody reacted. Not because it was okay, but because it was so unexpected, it took a moment to even process. Sophie blinked. Her fingers tightened around the edges of the tablet. She looked down at it, then back up at Margaret, like she was trying to understand if this was some kind of joke. It was. "Go on," Margaret added, her tone still calm but firmer now. "Olivia wants it." Have you ever watched a kid try to say no, when they're not used to being allowed to? Sophie shook her head, small, almost invisible, but it was there. "No," she whispered. That word barely made it out, but it landed hard. You could feel it. The room shifted. Conversations stopped. Even the background noise seemed to drop out, like everything was holding its breath. And that's when Margaret's expression changed. The smile didn't disappear completely, it just tightened, like patience was running out. "Don't be selfish," she said. Selfish? Over her own birthday gift. I felt something twist in my chest right then. That word, directed at a 9-year-old, hung in the air longer than it should have. And I'll be honest with you, I hesitated again. Why do we do that? Why do we wait, hoping someone else will step in first? Because I looked at Daniel. And he was still sitting down. Watching now, but not moving. Sophie's grip tightened even more. She took a small step back, like she was trying to physically protect what was hers. "I said no," she repeated, a little stronger this time, but her voice was shaking. And that's when Margaret leaned in slightly. Not aggressively, not loudly, but with that same controlled tone that somehow felt heavier than shouting. "Then don't call me Grandma." Silence. Not the kind where people are just quiet, the kind where something breaks, and everyone feels it at the same time. Sophie froze. Her face changed instantly. Confusion, hurt, something deeper she didn't even have words for yet. And no one spoke. No one moved. Except a chair scraped sharply against the floor. And when I turned, Daniel was standing. And the look on his face. I had never seen it before. I had seen my husband avoid conflict his entire life, but not this time. The sound of that chair scraping against the floor cut through the silence like a line being drawn. Slow, deliberate, final. Daniel stood there for a second, shoulders squared, eyes fixed on his mother. Not angry in the way you'd expect. Not loud, something quieter, controlled. Which somehow felt worse. "Mom," he said, his voice low, steady. "Say that again." Have you ever noticed how power shifts in a room before anyone fully realizes it? Because in that moment, it did. Margaret blinked, just once, a small crack in that perfectly composed exterior. She wasn't used to being questioned, especially not by him. "I was teaching her a lesson," she replied, smoothing her tone, trying to regain control. "Children need to learn to share." Daniel didn't move closer right away. He just stood there, letting her words hang in the air. Then he repeated them. Slowly. "You told her to give away her birthday gift, and if she didn't, she doesn't get to call you Grandma." No one interrupted. No one dared. Because now, hearing it out loud, clear, stripped of justification, it sounded exactly like what it was. Margaret's jaw tightened slightly. "You're overreacting." "Am I?" That's what his expression said, even before he spoke again. "Am I?" he echoed, calm but firmer now. "Or is this just the first time I'm saying something out loud?" That landed. And here, where everything started connecting. The small comments over the years, the subtle favoritism, Olivia always getting first pick, Sophie always being told to be understanding, to be kind, to let it go. Have you ever watched a pattern build so slowly? You almost convince yourself it's normal. Until suddenly, it's not. I've seen this before, Daniel continued. You don't ask her to share, you expect her to give things up. Margaret crossed her arms now, defensive. It's called being generous. No, he said, sharper this time. It's called deciding for her. That was the shift, the real one. Then Daniel finally moved. He stepped past everyone else, closing the distance, and knelt down in front of Sophie. His entire posture changed instantly, softer, grounded, steady. Hey, he said gently, meeting her eyes. You don't have to give that to anyone, it's yours. Simple words. But you could see it, the way Sophie's shoulders dropped just a little. The way her grip loosened, not out of fear this time, but relief. Safety. And then Daniel stood back up, turned around, faced his mother again. And what he said next. No one in that room was ready for it. And what he said next ended the argument before anyone even realized it was over. Daniel didn't raise his voice, didn't step closer, didn't hesitate. If being her grandmother comes with conditions, he said, calm and unmistakably clear, then you don't get to be one. That was it. No yelling, no dramatic gestures, just a sentence that landed heavier than anything else said that day. And the silence that followed. Different. Not shock this time, final. Margaret stared at him like she was waiting for him to backtrack, to soften it, to laugh it off, because that's what he used to do. But he didn't. For the first time, he didn't adjust to her. She adjusted to nothing. Around us, people started shifting uncomfortably. Olivia's parent, who had been quiet this entire time, finally stepped in, gently pulling her back, not saying a word, just removing her from the center of it. Because even they knew something had crossed a line, you don't uncross. Margaret opened her mouth like she was about to respond, but no words came out. And for someone who always had something to say, that said everything. The party didn't end officially. No one announced it. But it was over. Conversations didn't pick back up. The energy didn't recover. One by one, people started gathering their things, offering quiet goodbyes that avoided eye contact. And Sophie. She stayed right next to me, still holding that tablet, but not clutching it out of fear anymore. Just holding it. Later that night, after everything settled, she looked up at me and asked something I don't think I'll ever forget. Did I do something wrong? Let me ask you something. Why is that always the question kids ask, when adults are the ones who failed them? I knelt down, just like Daniel had earlier, and told her the truth as simply as I could. No, you didn't. And for the first time that day, she smiled without hesitation. Because here's what that moment was really about. Not a gift. Not a cousin. Not even a single comment. It was about a line that had been quietly crossed for years, finally being seen, named, and stopped. Remember the question from the beginning. What would you do if someone made your child feel like love had to be earned? Now you've seen our answer. So let me ask you one more. What would yours be? If this hit you in any way, share it. Someone else might need to hear this more than you think. Because sometimes, the quietest moments are the ones that change everything.